There comes a time in life when you realize that some people were never meant to have a seat at your table. You tried to love them, you tried to understand them, but no matter what you did, it was never enough. These are the people who thrive on control, who twist the truth, who drain your energy without a second thought. They want you to feel small so they can feel big. There is a power so profound that it can disarm even the most manipulative people in your life. It is not aggression, not argument, and not revenge. It is indifference. When you stop feeding their need for control, when you no longer react to their provocations, they lose their grip on you. Narcissists thrive on emotional responses. They want your frustration, your anger, even your attempts to reason with them. Every reaction you give is fuel for their ego. But the moment you refuse to play their game, when you detach yourself from their chaos, you take away their power. Indifference is not about ignoring reality or pretending you are unaffected. It is about mastering the art of emotional discipline. When someone tries to provoke you and you remain calm, you send a clear message. You do not control me. A narcissist will push every button to get a reaction. They will insult, manipulate, and twist words to make you feel like you have no choice but to engage. But you always have a choice. You can choose not to respond. And in that moment, you break the cycle. Imagine a person throwing darts at a target. As long as the target remains in place, they can keep aiming and hitting their mark. But what happens when the target disappears? The darts fall to the ground, useless. That is what happens when you become indifferent. The narcissist's words, their games, their attempts to provoke you, suddenly none of it sticks. They become frustrated because they're no longer in control. Indifference does not mean you don't care about yourself or your life. In fact, it is the opposite. It means you care so much about your peace that you refuse to let anyone disrupt it. You stop defending yourself to someone who never truly listens. You stop explaining yourself to someone who has already made up their mind. You stop justifying your worth to someone who will never see it. This is the kind of strength that confuses a narcissist. They expect you to fight, to plead, to argue. When you do none of these things, they are left powerless. There is a common misconception that if you don't react, you are weak. But the truth is, indifference requires tremendous inner strength. It takes discipline to bite your tongue when someone is provoking you. It takes wisdom to walk away when someone is trying to draw you into their chaos. It takes confidence to know that their opinion of you does not define you. Weakness is allowing yourself to be manipulated over and over again. Strength is deciding that you will no longer be a part of their toxic cycle. A narcissist's worst fear is being irrelevant. They want to feel important, needed, and in control. When you withdraw your attention, they begin to unravel. They may try harder at first, sending messages, creating drama, doing anything to get a rise out of you. But if you remain steadfast, if you stay grounded in your indifference, they will eventually realize they have lost control. Some people will tell you that the best revenge is success. But the truth is, the best revenge is peace. A narcissist wants to see you upset, unsettled, and doubting yourself. But when you are calm, unbothered, and confident, they are the ones left frustrated. They can no longer feed off your reactions, and that is what truly weakens them. Indifference is a form of self-respect. It is choosing not to lower yourself to their level. It is refusing to waste energy on someone who does not deserve it. It is understanding that not every battle is worth fighting. When you master indifference, you reclaim your emotional freedom. You are no longer a puppet in someone else's game. You are in control of yourself. And that is the greatest power of all. There comes a time in life when you realize that not everyone deserves access to you. Some people take more than they give, manipulate instead of support, and drain your energy instead of uplifting you. The only way to protect yourself from these individuals is by setting firm boundaries and having the discipline to enforce them. A boundary is not a punishment. It is a declaration of self. It is a statement that says, I will not tolerate being mistreated. I will not allow someone to manipulate me. I will not accept anything less than what I deserve. But having boundaries is not enough. You must stick to them no matter how much pushback you receive. Narcissists, manipulators, and toxic individuals hate boundaries. They thrive on control. And the moment you set limits, they feel threatened. They will test your resolve, guilt trip you, and even try to make you feel selfish for prioritizing your well-being. But the truth is, boundaries are not selfish. They are necessary. Without them, you will find yourself caught in cycles of emotional exhaustion, constantly trying to please people who will never be satisfied. You cannot heal in the same environment that is breaking you. If someone disrespects your boundaries, they are showing you that they do not respect you. And when someone shows you who they are, believe them. One of the biggest mistakes people make when setting boundaries is giving in when pressured. A narcissist will not accept a simple no. They will push and prod, trying to find a weak spot. If they see that you bend when pressured, they will use that against you. They will cry, argue, or act like the victim, hoping you will change your mind. But the moment you give in, you teach them that your boundaries are flexible. And when boundaries are flexible, they are not boundaries at all. They are mere suggestions. People will only treat you the way you allow them to. Sticking to your boundaries does not mean you have to be harsh or rude. It simply means you have to be firm. A calm and confident, "No, I can't do that," is far more powerful than an angry reaction. You do not need to explain yourself to someone who is only looking for a way to argue. You do not need to apologize for protecting your peace. You do not need to feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. Guilt is one of the greatest weapons a manipulator will use against you, but you must remember that guilt is not proof that you are doing something wrong. It is simply an emotional response to change. And change is necessary when you are breaking free from toxic patterns. It is easy to set boundaries when you are feeling strong, but the real test comes when you are feeling lonely, uncertain, or emotionally vulnerable. This is when toxic people sense an opportunity. They will try to weasel their way back in with false apologies, empty promises, or sudden acts of kindness. They will tell you what you want to hear, hoping you will lower your guard. But boundaries are not just for the bad days. They are for every day. You cannot afford to let someone back in just because they suddenly realize they are losing control. If they truly respected you, they would not have tested your boundaries in the first place. There is nothing more powerful than a person who knows their worth and refuses to accept less. You do not have to tolerate disrespect just because you love someone. You do not have to put up with manipulation just because you have history with someone. You do not have to keep people in your life who drain your energy just because you're afraid of being alone. Loneliness is temporary, but peace is priceless. When you enforce your boundaries, you will lose some people, but you will gain something even greater: self-respect. You will create space for healthier relationships, for genuine connections, and for people who truly value you. The hardest part about setting boundaries is realizing that some people will never change. No matter how much you hope, no matter how much you explain, they will continue to test you. And that is why you must stay strong. If someone truly cares about you, they will respect your limits. If they do not, then they were never meant to be in your life in the first place. You do not need to force people to respect you. The right people will do it naturally. And once you realize this, you will never again lower your standards for anyone. There is no greater power than realizing that your happiness does not depend on anyone else. The moment you stop waiting for validation, stop seeking approval, and stop allowing toxic people to dictate your emotions, you step into a life of true freedom. When you have been entangled with a narcissist or manipulative person, they condition you to believe that your joy is tied to them. They make you think that without them, you will be lost, broken, or incomplete. But that is a lie designed to keep you under their control. The truth is, your life will only get better once you free yourself from their influence. The greatest mistake people make is believing they need closure from someone who never truly cared about them. They wait for an apology that will never come, a change that will never happen, a moment of acknowledgement that will never arrive. But life is too short to wait for someone else to give you permission to move on. The best way to heal is not to dwell on the past, but to focus on the life you are building without them. Every time you dwell on what was, you give them power. Every time you replay old conversations, question your worth, or wonder if you could have done something differently, you allow them to occupy space in your mind. But the moment you shift your focus to your own growth, they lose their grip on you. It is not enough to simply cut someone off. You must also shift your mindset. If you remove a toxic person from your life, but still think about them every day, still stalk their social media, still wonder what they are doing, then you are still allowing them to control you. The real freedom comes when you stop caring altogether. When you no longer react, no longer wonder, no longer let their presence, past or present, dictate your emotions, you have truly won. The best revenge is not anger, not proving them wrong, not making them regret losing you. The best revenge is indifference, to live a life so full, so joyful, so purpose-driven that they become nothing more than a faded memory. One of the biggest lies a narcissist will try to convince you of is that you need them. They will make you feel like you cannot succeed without their guidance, their approval, or their presence. But the reality is you are always strong enough on your own. They simply never wanted you to realize it. The moment you start living life for yourself, without needing them to see it, without needing them to acknowledge it, you reclaim your power. True success is not flaunting your happiness in their face. It is being so at peace that their absence does not even cross your mind. Healing does not happen overnight, but every small step forward is proof that you are stronger than what tried to break you. The more you invest in yourself, the less you will care about what they are doing. Find new hobbies, focus on your career, surround yourself with people who uplift you, and most importantly, learn to enjoy your own company. When you are happy alone, you become untouchable. A narcissist's worst nightmare is seeing you thrive without them, not because you are trying to prove anything, but because they can no longer affect you. At first, they may try to come back, sensing that they are losing control. They will test you with messages, with fake apologies, with sudden interest in your life. But this time, you will not fall for it. This time, you will not engage because you have already seen what life looks like without them, and you are not willing to go back. Strength is not blocking someone and waiting for them to miss you. Strength is moving forward so completely that whether they come back or not is irrelevant. Your best life is waiting for you, but you have to be willing to walk away from what no longer serves you. There is no growth in a space where you are constantly doubting yourself, constantly explaining yourself, constantly feeling unworthy. The moment you choose yourself over the toxic cycle, you break free. And once you taste that freedom, you will never settle for anything less again. There is a power in truth that no lie can withstand. And the greatest way to expose deception is not through anger or aggression, but through unwavering calmness. When dealing with a narcissist or a manipulative person, they expect chaos. They thrive on emotional reactions, on making you frustrated, on seeing you lose control. They lie not just to deceive you, but to provoke you. The moment you react with outrage, they twist the narrative, making you look unreasonable while they play the victim. But when you remain calm, when you present the truth with clarity and composure, their lies begin to crumble under their own weight. A liar's greatest fear is exposure. That is why they use manipulation tactics, gaslighting, blame shifting, and playing the victim to keep you in a state of confusion. They want you to doubt your reality, to second guess what you know is true. But when you refuse to engage in their emotional games, when you remain steady in what you know, you take away their power. The truth does not need to be shouted. It simply needs to be stated. The calmer you are, the more their lies become obvious. One of the most effective ways to expose a narcissist's lies is to let their words contradict themselves. A person who lies must keep track of every false story they have told, and over time the cracks begin to show. Instead of arguing, simply let them talk. Take note of their inconsistencies, their shifting explanations, their contradictions. When the moment is right, calmly point out the facts. Not with emotion, not with anger, but with simple logic. A narcissist expects you to react emotionally. They do not expect you to respond with quiet certainty. That is why they panic when they realize their deception is no longer working. There is a reason why manipulative people use emotional triggers to control others. Because emotion clouds judgment. The more upset you are, the easier it is for them to redirect the blame, to change the story, to make you feel like the problem. But when you maintain your composure, when you refuse to let them push your buttons, you remain in control. You do not need to prove anything to them, nor do you need their confession. The truth speaks for itself, and in time others will see it too. One of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with a liar is trying to make them admit the truth. A narcissist will never admit they are wrong because their entire identity is built on control. Instead of seeking their confession, focus on protecting your peace. When you know the truth, you do not need them to validate it. When you live in truth, their lies cannot affect you. They may continue to spread falsehoods, but over time, their deceit will catch up with them. Truth is like a seed. It grows, and eventually it will reveal itself. Lies, on the other hand, require constant maintenance. A liar must continue fabricating stories, manipulating people, and covering their tracks. Eventually, they will slip. And when they do, your calmness will make their downfall even more evident. There is nothing more unsettling to a manipulator than someone who is unshakable. When you stop reacting, when you no longer feel the need to defend yourself against their accusations, they realize they have lost control. They may try harder at first, using every trick they know to get a rise out of you. But if you stay grounded, if you hold firm in what you know, they will eventually unravel. Their lies will become more desperate, their manipulations more obvious, and in the end, they will expose themselves. You do not need to fight fire with fire. You do not need to lower yourself to their level. The best way to expose a liar is to stand firmly in truth, without anger, without fear, and without doubt. When you know who you are and what you stand for, no lie can shake you. When you stop seeking justice from those who thrive on deception, you free yourself from their hold. And when you choose calmness over chaos, truth over confusion, and dignity over destruction, you win in the most powerful way possible. Emotions are a powerful force, but when used incorrectly, they can become a weapon others use against you. The moment you react emotionally, especially in difficult situations or with manipulative people, you hand over your power. Emotional reactions cloud judgment, distort reality, and allow others to control your behavior. A narcissist, a manipulator, or anyone looking to deceive you thrives on your emotions. They provoke you, test you, and wait for you to lose control so they can twist the story in their favor. But when you refuse to react emotionally, when you remain calm and composed, you become untouchable. The greatest strength you can develop is emotional discipline. People who cannot control their emotions are easily influenced, easily provoked, and easily manipulated. When someone pushes your buttons and you explode in anger or frustration, they win. They have successfully controlled your state of mind. They can now label you as irrational, unhinged, or too emotional to be taken seriously. But when you refuse to react, when you pause, observe, and respond with logic instead of emotion, you strip them of their power. Manipulative people rely on your emotional responses to shift blame and avoid accountability. They gaslight you into questioning your own reality, making you feel like your emotions are the problem rather than their toxic behavior. They will provoke you with subtle jabs, backhanded compliments, and calculated silence, all designed to get a rise out of you. The moment you react emotionally, they turn the conversation around, making you the aggressor while they play the victim. But when you remain neutral, when you refuse to give them what they want, they are left with nothing to manipulate. Emotional discipline is not about suppressing your feelings, but about controlling how you express them. It is about knowing when to speak, when to walk away, and when to let silence be your answer. Some battles are not worth fighting, especially when the other person is not looking for truth, but for control. There is power in restraint, in not giving people access to your emotions when they have not earned that right. Not everyone deserves a response. And sometimes the best reaction is no reaction at all. When you refuse to react emotionally, you gain clarity. You begin to see people for who they truly are, not who they pretend to be. You notice patterns, recognize manipulation tactics, and understand that some people do not argue for resolution, but for domination. They want to win, not to understand. They want to break you, not to build with you. Once you see this, you stop engaging in pointless arguments. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, and you stop wasting energy on those who only seek to drain you. In relationships, whether personal or professional, emotional control is what separates those who lead from those who are led. Leaders do not react, they respond. They take a moment to think before speaking. They analyze before acting. They do not let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. They understand that not everything requires an immediate reaction, and sometimes the smartest move is to wait, to observe, and to act only when the moment is right. There will always be people who try to get under your skin, who test your patience, and who provoke you just to see you break. But your power lies in your ability to remain composed. When you do not react, they have no fuel for their fire. When you remain steady, their attempts to unsettle you fall flat. Over time, they realize they cannot control someone who refuses to be emotionally manipulated. And once they see that, they either change their approach or disappear altogether. Mastering your emotions does not mean you do not feel. It means you choose how and when to express those feelings. It means you do not let others dictate your emotional state. It means you protect your peace, no matter what is happening around you. The person who controls their emotions controls their life. And when you reach that level of emotional strength, no one can take your power away from you again. The need for approval is one of the strongest chains that hold people back from living their true potential. From a young age, society conditions us to seek validation from parents, teachers, friends, employers, and even strangers. But the moment you realize that your worth is not determined by someone else's opinion, you step into a level of freedom most people never experience. When dealing with narcissists, manipulators, or anyone who thrives on control, the best way to break free is to show them, through your actions, not your words, that you do not need their approval. People who manipulate others thrive on making them feel small, uncertain, and constantly seeking their validation. They use approval as a weapon, giving it sparingly and taking it away when it serves their agenda. They make you feel like you are never enough, that no matter what you do, it will never be good enough to earn their full acceptance. This creates a cycle where you constantly try harder, hoping one day they will recognize your worth. But the truth is, they never will, because their power lies in keeping you in a state of seeking. The moment you stop seeking, the game is over. The key to breaking this cycle is to stop basing your actions, decisions, and self-worth on what others think. If you constantly wait for approval, you will always be waiting. If you constantly adjust your behavior to please someone else, you will never be truly happy. The most powerful statement you can make is to live your life unapologetically, with confidence, and without looking over your shoulder for validation. The moment you show them that their approval no longer matters to you, they lose their ability to control you. Many people stay stuck in toxic relationships, draining friendships, and unfulfilling jobs because they fear disapproval. They worry about what people will say if they walk away, if they choose themselves, if they break the mold. But the reality is, people will judge you no matter what you do. You could sacrifice everything for their approval, and they would still find something to criticize. So why waste your time? The only opinion that truly matters is the one you hold about yourself. When you start living for yourself, you might notice that those who once had power over you will react. They will test you, guilt trip you, accuse you of being selfish, and try to manipulate you back into seeking their approval. This is because they feel their influence slipping away. But this is the moment where you must stand firm. Do not explain yourself. Do not seek to justify your choices. And do not fall into the trap of needing them to understand. People who truly support you will respect your decisions. Those who don't were only invested in controlling you. The strongest way to prove that you do not need their approval is through action. Stop asking for permission to live the life you want. Make your own decisions without feeling the need to explain them. Celebrate your own victories without seeking external praise. Walk away from situations that do not serve you without needing validation that you're doing the right thing. When people see that you are thriving without their input, it unsettles them. They expected you to depend on their words, their validation, and their approval, but you have shown them that you are whole without it. It takes strength to break free from the need for approval, but once you do, you will never look back. You will begin to trust yourself more, knowing that you are capable of making the right choices for your own life. You will stop second-guessing yourself because someone else disapproves. You will start living boldly, without hesitation, without fear of judgment. And when you reach that level, you will realize that their approval was never necessary to begin with. You were always enough. You just needed to see it for yourself. The people you surround yourself with shape your thoughts, your mindset, and ultimately your future. The power of a strong, supportive circle cannot be overstated. When you are surrounded by people who uplift you, believe in you, and encourage your growth, you thrive. On the other hand, if you allow negative, toxic, or unsupportive people to dominate your life, they will drain your energy, plant seeds of doubt, and hold you back from reaching your full potential. Choosing the right people to be in your life is not just important, it is essential. Supportive people bring out the best in you. They see your potential even when you cannot see it yourself. They remind you of your strengths when you feel weak and push you forward when you are tempted to give up. These are the people who celebrate your success without envy, who challenge you to grow without tearing you down, and who stand by you not just when things are easy, but also when times are tough. They do not compete with you or make you feel small. Instead, they inspire you to be better. One of the biggest mistakes people make is holding on to relationships that no longer serve them. Sometimes the people you have known the longest are not the best for you. Friendships and relationships should be based on mutual respect, growth, and encouragement. If someone in your life constantly drains you, makes you doubt yourself, or discourages your dreams, they are not a true friend. Letting go of unsupportive people is not an act of selfishness, it is an act of self-respect. Being around the right people changes your perspective. When you are surrounded by negativity, you start to absorb it. You begin to doubt your own ability, settle for less, and accept limitations that are not real. But when you are around positive, ambitious, and supportive individuals, their mindset influences you. You start to think bigger, believe in yourself more, and push beyond your previous limits. The right people challenge you in a way that makes you grow, not in a way that makes you feel small. One of the signs of a truly supportive person is their ability to listen without judgment. These are the people who hear your struggles and do not dismiss them. They do not make everything about themselves or invalidate your feelings. Instead, they offer perspective, encouragement, and sometimes the tough love you need to move forward. Surrounding yourself with people who truly listen and understand you creates an environment where you feel safe to express yourself, grow, and become the best version of yourself. In order to attract supportive people into your life, you must first become one yourself. Support is a two-way street. When you uplift others, when you encourage and believe in those around you, you naturally draw like-minded people toward you. It is important to be intentional about the energy you bring into your relationships. If you want to be surrounded by people who inspire and support you, you must also be that person for them. The energy you put out into the world is the energy you will attract. Finding the right people takes time, but it starts with knowing what you deserve. You do not have to settle for relationships that make you feel unworthy, unseen, or unappreciated. There are people out there who will celebrate you, who will push you to grow, and who will walk with you through life's challenges. You just have to be willing to let go of those who hold you back to make room for those who will lift you up. The environment you place yourself in will either help you rise or keep you stuck. Choose wisely. Surround yourself with people who push you toward greatness, who remind you of your value, and who see the potential in you, even when you forget it yourself. When you build a strong, supportive circle, you set yourself up for a life filled with growth, confidence, and unstoppable momentum.